Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be making this Minecraft fight animation. Since some of you asked for the Minecraft fight animation tutorials, I'm going to be making more and more in the future. Also, I will be releasing the time-lapse video for this, and then I will release a tutorial soon after. So this will be a fight animation tutorial where I'm going to show you how to make a basic fight movement, and then from there you can use the same principles and follow along. This is my method, and there might be other methods to do it, so keep that in mind. Also, if you have any criticism or if you have any suggestions, be sure to leave them down in the comments. So, first things to keep in mind is I already imported 2 of my characters, which I'm going to be using. I also have these swords, which I modeled. These 2 are the same swords in the character's arms. And if you want to get it and if you want to use it in your animations, I'm going to leave a link down in the description. You can download it for free. Now, also another thing to keep in mind is I'm in the solid view because it runs fast. And also I like to turn off this outline and specular lighting. If you want, you can turn on this cavity, but it's optional. Also, before I continue, I have my starting keyframe to 0. And also I'm going to turn on the auto keyframing and I'm going to set this to location and rotation. Now we can begin our animation process. So once we have our auto keyframing turned on, and once we have the swords parented to the character's arms, we can start the animation. And you can parent the swords by selecting the sword, selecting the character's arm, and then clicking Ctrl P and then boom. Now it's going to be parented to the character's arm. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a starting pose. And by the way, I'm going to animate, I'm going to talk, and I'm going to tell you a few things you should keep in mind. So this movement, I was inspired by some of the samurai movements as well as some of the movements inside the Georgian national dances. I'm from Georgia, and sometimes we use swords when we're dancing, and we have this special dance that is basically performed with swords. And there are some cool movements which inspired me to add here and add some mix. And my point is basically to get some references, watch some movies, watch some videos, and then I would recommend to have it like a board, like an inspiration board. Maybe have a link, like Google Drive link, for example, where you can combine all your favorite videos and then you can watch them, get inspired, get some references. And basically references are very important when you're making animations. So my reference is mostly going to be off the top of my head, but I mainly know what I'm going to do. So I'm going to give them a starting pose. Let's maybe make them crouch down slightly. And these are just 2 skins which I use in my previous animations. You can get any skins online and you can choose any skins here. If you want to customize the character, change the skin, remove the eyes, then I'm going to leave a link for the videos in the description and you can see how to do that. So now that we have some basic starting poses, I'm going to make a blockout. So this animation, like nobody's going to kill anybody. It's going to be for a few seconds and they're going to do some cool spinning stuff. And also I'm using 30 FPS if I go inside my auto view. So I'm going to animate based on 30 FPS. But sometimes the animation might be too fast or too slow and we can change it in the future. So once you give your characters some starting position, then we can do the blockout. So I'm going to select this root bone. Root bone is the one which is down below. And if you're wondering why I can select both of my characters inside the pose mode, that's because I go into edit and disable lock object mode. So I'm going to disable this, uncheck this, make sure it's unchecked. And then you can select the bones, you can select the objects outside the bones, and you can select other characters as well. So first thing I want to do is move them closer to each other. And then I'm going to go forward about 10 frames or maybe 12 frames. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to move this character forward about this way. So I'm going to click on G and then middle mouse scroll wheel to snap it on one axis. And then move it like this. And do the same for this character. Take the root bone, move it on the side, and then move it forward. So we have this motion. Then basically switching places like this. And I'm going to select both of their root bones and I'm going to set the interpolation to linear because it's sliding in, easing in and out. So I'm going to select both root bones, hover over my timeline, click on T and set this to linear. Now it's more constant. It's on the same level. The movement is on the same level. And another thing I want to do is first I'm going to focus on the arm and then I'm going to animate the body. So what I want them to do is, as you can see in this video, they're moving their arms up and down, they're turning, and then they're going to turn again. So first I need to select the hand. Apologies, not the arm. The arm is down below. We need to select the hand. And the very first thing we need to do, apologies, is basically select all of the character's bones. Go to frame 0 and then press on up. Just set a keyframe for all of the bones. I have the facial bones disabled, so they're not going to have the keyframe set. Again, if you want to learn how to do that, just check the videos in the description. But a quick way you can do is, if you select this thing on top of the character's head, then you press on N to bring out the sidebar. You can go to iTeam and you can expand the properties panel, and here you can mess around with these settings, bring out the eyes, bring them back, and so on. Now let's continue. I'm going to select this hand, go forward about, let's go forward on frame 12, and then we'll add the in between later. So I'm going to move this by using R and then R again, and I'm going to do the same for this character, R and then R again to move it back. And then maybe move them forward so that their swords are like touching instead of going through each other. And let's see, we have this motion. And if you're wondering why it looks terrible, I agree with you. It looks terrible because it's a blockout. It's basically the layout. We're only setting up the layout so that we can add other movements later on. So this is one movement. And then I need them to stay in the same place for a few frames, because if I rotate the root bones right away, it's not going to look pretty. It's going to look like this. It's going to look too fast. So I need them to stay in one place. So what I can do is select the root bone, go forward about on frame, let me see, on frame 18, for example, and then press on I so that we have the same keyframe set. He's basically staying in one place. Do the same for the other character. Select the other character, and then press on I to set a keyframe. We have this one, and then I want them to rotate this way. So let's see, one, and then I'm going to select this character and then rotate it on the left side. So let's go forward on frame 30, for example. Press on R, Z, and then rotate it like this. Now select this character and rotate it in the opposite direction. So 1, 2, and then 3. Go to frame 30, press on RZ. No, not S. RZ, and then rotate it this way. Let's see what we have. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then when they rotate, I want them to stay in front of each other. So I can select this root bone, press on G, middle mouse, or press on G and then X, and then move it like this. And I can do the same thing for this other character. Then we have this motion, them turning, meeting each other in the center. Again, I want them to stay in the place for a few frames, not too long. Let's see what this was, about 6 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that is, we can go forward about like 5 or 6 frames again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can select the root bone, press on I to set a keyframe, select the other root bone of the other character, press on I to set a keyframe. I hope I'm not going too fast. If I'm going too fast, leave a comment down below. And also, I don't want this video to drag on too long because it's already going to be long. It's going to be step by step. But hopefully you enjoyed. So, 1, 2, stay in place. And then I'm going to do the last rotation. So let's go forward about on frame 52. And then I want this character to do this motion. So 1, 1, 2, and then let's rotate him in the opposite direction of the previous movement. So RZ, and then I'm going to rotate it like this. Let's see what we have. Yes. But another thing I can do is I can select the other character, RZ, and then I can type 360 on my keyboard. But in this case, we need minus 360. So after typing 360, I'm going to press on minus, and then let's see what we have. Yes. This is exactly what I want. So this applied the rotation for the character and negative 360 degrees. Yeah, so we have this small layout going forward, spinning, and then spinning again. And then I want them to stay in the place again, and this is going to be the end of this animation, but after this you can add more movements. So let's see. Yeah, I think frame 75 can be the end of animation, so I'm still going to press on I and then press on I again. And then I'm going to go here, and on the end I'm going to type 75 so that our animation can loop, and then we can watch it while we're working. So we have this, and then this. So that's beautiful. We have the layout, and then from here we can add the movements, and it's going to be a lot easier and a lot faster. So first, let's start by animating their character's arms and the body, and let's add some in-between movements. And after in-between movements, we can do the polishing and all that stuff. So first thing we need to do obviously is we don't want the characters to appear as if they're sliding, and we need to move the feet. So I'm gonna extend the feet further like this. I'm gonna select the pelvis, press on GZ, move it down, bend the character forward, make the sword go backwards. I can select the sword as well, press on G and then move it back, and it's gonna have a keyframe set. I'm gonna select the other sword and then press on I so that it also has a keyframe, because we need to keyframe the swords as well in the future. So let's animate this character's legs, the body, the arm, basically everything. Let's give a cool preparation pose. And let's move this body down, move the head up. And I want to do the same thing for this character. And instead of doing everything from start to finish, I can select all my character's bones by pressing Shift. Basically Shift select the character's hands, the legs, the body, the head. And then press on I to make sure they all have a keyframe. Hover over the timeline, select the frame 0. Go to frame 0, click on Ctrl C so we can copy the keyframe. Now I'm going to go to this character, select all the bones which we want to paste. Select the feet, select the whole body. Select both arms and hands. Select the head as well. Press on I and then press on Ctrl V. And now we have the same motion for both characters, which is beautiful. Now, obviously we don't want them to be the same, so we can maybe change some stuff. We don't want it to be robotic and repetitive. And now what I want to do is take the body, take the pelvis, go on frame 12, and then press on I so that we have a keyframe set. Do the same for the other character. Press on I so that we have a keyframe set. Now go on frame 6, which is between 0 and 12. So we're going to add an in between. And this in between is going to be basically the body moving up like this. G, Z, move it up. And when we move the body up, the character is appearing to take a step forward. So GZ, move it up like this. And now we want to first take a look at this. We have this, all right, that's good. And then we need to animate the legs as well. So since we selected all the keyframes and we pressed on I previously, the legs already have a first keyframe set. So let's do the same for the legs we did for the body. So go to frame 12, press on I, set a keyframe for both legs, do the same for the other character. Now go to frame 6, and let's first take care of this samurai looking character. Select the right leg, go on frame 6, press on G, Z to move the leg up like this. RZ or RX to rotate it like this. And then if we take a look, we have this motion of the character taking a step forward. Now another thing we need to do obviously is change the leg's positioning, because it appears that the character is moving the leg only up and doing nothing else. So we need to move this leg forward, GZ, move it forward, RX to rotate, and move this leg backwards, GZ or G middle mouse scroll wheel. And then we have this motion. Obviously it doesn't look clean, and we can adjust it later on. So first I mainly want to do this, adjust it, move it forward, move it backwards, and then move the other leg forward. I can do the same for the other character as well. So move this leg, let's see. Yeah, we need to move this leg backwards, move the left leg backwards, move the right leg forward, GZ, RX to rotate. Maybe bend the body slightly, move it forward, RX. And now take the right leg, go to frame 6 in between, GZ, move it up, RX to rotate it. Now we notice the characters are going through each other, but we can fix this later on the polishing phase, or even in the in-between phase. We'll see which one works for us. So we have this motion of the characters taking a step, and it's already looking better and better. I accidentally moved my keyframe, so I clicked on Ctrl Z. Now let's animate the hands. Let's add this fancy movement of the characters swinging the sword up. So I'm going to go to frame 6, since the character's arms already have a keyframe on frame 0 and 12. Let's check the other arm, the right arm of another character, yes. So I'm going to select the samurai character, or I'm going to first select this character, go on frame 6, and then move the hand up like this. And if it's hard for you to see this character, I'm gonna temporarily hide another character, and we're gonna do this motion basically. Move the hand up and move this up as well. But before we move this up, let's go to frame 12 and set a keyframe for it. Press on I, and I'll go back on frame 6 and then stretch this hand upwards. And then we have this motion. Now this motion needs to be corrected, obviously. So let's bring up the second character and do the same for this character as well. Select this R. If it's too hard for you, go to frame 0 and then select this hand. Go on frame 6, move it up. Let's hide the other character. And then that's why organizing is important, because you know what you have in different collections, so you can hide them and unhide them later on. Now go to frame 12, press on I, set a keyframe for this, for the arm, not forearm, but just the arm. And then R to rotate it up like this. If I bring back my character, we have this. 1, 2. Then they rotate, and then they rotate again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's good. Now, once the character is moving the hand up, obviously we need to swing the body to make the motion appear powerful. So let's do that. I'm gonna first animate this character. Select the pelvis. Go to frame 6. And rotate it on the side like this. So I'm just using R and then RR to pre-rotate. Now, I don't think we need to animate the hips that much. Maybe you move it slightly. And now select the torso. And then rotate it like this. Do the same for the head. And move it down. Let's adjust the hand if we need to. Adjust the second hand as well. Move it forward as if the character is swinging. Like this. As you can see, it's already starting to look better. Go on frame 12. And then what we need to do on frame 12, we need to readjust the character's position. So I'm going to press on Alt-R. Alt-R here as well. Alt-R for the head. And then I need to press on RX to move the character down. RZ to move it backwards. Do the same here. For the torso, RZ, move it backwards. Move the head backwards as if it's taking a look and seeing what is attached to the other character. Now adjust the hands as well. GZ, move this down. Let's see what we have. 1, 2. Alright, that's starting to look a lot better. Now what I want is this hand to go up and go down swinging. Instead of going backwards straight away, I want it to swing. So I can go to between frame 6 and 12, which might be like frame 9, for example. And on frame 9, I want my character's hand to be forward like this. Forward and slightly bent upwards like this. If it makes sense. I don't know if it does. So if you see, character moves the hand up, then forward, and then takes a swing back like this. I can hide the other character to demonstrate this better. Like this. Now I need to add an in between 0 and 6 as well. So let's go to frame 3. And I can maybe rotate this hand like this. Let's see what we have. And then up here, I want the hand to be rotated this way. So R, Z, and I'm going to rotate it this way. So let's see. 1, 2. I think that's pretty good. 1, 2, and then 3, 4. Okay, that's good. Now let's bring up the other character and do the same here. So I can copy and paste this, but I'm not going to do that because I want this movements to be different, and also I want you to see how things are done, and you can get used to these and you can add your own twist and so on. So first select the body, go on frame 6, rotate it this way, maybe slightly rotate the hip, not here but here, select the torso, select the head, move the hand up like this. Let's see how it's looking so far. All right. Now move the hand up. No, move the hand forward. Do the same for the arm as well. Let's do the same for the head. I know it looks ridiculous, but when it's in the motion, it's going to look pretty. And another thing I want to do is I want to animate the swords as well. So I'm first going to finish setting up this character's poses, and then I'm going to animate the sword. So let's do the same thing we did for this character. Go on frame 9, and then move the hand forward and slightly down, so that it's swinging like this. And do the same here on 3, maybe on the side, as if it's preparing to move up. So the sword moves up, sideways, and then backwards, like this. Now let's readjust the character's position. Alt-R, Alt-R, Alt-R. And do the same. RZ, RRX, apologies, move it back. RZ, rotate it. R to rotate the head as well. GZ to move it down. And you can use these gizmos as well if you want to. You can use the location tools. You can use the rotation tools. And so on. But I'm going to turn these off for now because I don't need them. And let's see what we have so far. 1, 2. 1, 2. Right, not bad. Now let's animate the swords, like I said. So first let's adjust the swords to our liking. I want this to be down. And when the characters go on frame 6, while they're all the way up, I want the swords to be up as well, like this, so that it's visible there, intending to slash each other. Let's do the same for the other sword. Let's see what we have. By the way, we needed to set a keyframe on the last frame, but that's okay. We can readjust the swords on the last keyframe. So move it up, and then let's move them sideways. So go on frame 12. So when you have the sword selected, move it backwards like this. Basically, we're doing the position which we had before, like this position. So if I copy this keyframe, it's almost going to be the same. Shift-D, copy, you can see it's almost the same. So I can readjust this manually. I didn't press on I to set a keyframe on frame 12, but that's fine. I can readjust it manually. G, R, I'm just using G and R to rotate it. I'm going to do the same here. G, R, move it forward. Make sure it's not going through the character's arm. Let's see what we have. 1, 2. Alright, instead of slashing through each other, I'm going to do this. We'll move it down. Maybe rotate it. Do the same here. Let's make sure the swords are a bit touching, not intersecting, like this, as if they made a contact. So I have this motion of in-betweens. This is going to look better after we polish this. Let's see without the overlays. Alright, that's good. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. Right. I see some issues here, like obviously they're bending way too much and all that stuff. There's no telegraph. There's no telling that they're going to do this motion, which looks weird. But we're going to fix all of these in the polishing phase. Meanwhile, let's add some more in-betweens, like here and then here. So let's continue. I'm going to bring out the overlays again. Go forward. So before they rotate, the last frame of them standing in a place is frame 18. So I'm going to continue doing things from frame 18. I'm first going to set a keyframe for the body. So select the whole body, press on I. Select the body for the other character as well, press on I. And then let's see what we have. We have rotation like this. So go to frame 30, which is the last frame of them rotating. And then I can click on Alt-R and to reset the position of the body like this. And do the same for the other character as well. Now let's actually do this for the other bones as well. So select the head, select the hands, select the feet. Or if you're too annoyed by selecting manually, you can press on A to select all the bones. So let's shift select them. But the reason I'm not pressing A to select all the bones right now is because it's going to set a keyframe for all the bones which we don't need. It's going to set a keyframe here. It's going to set a keyframe for this bone, which uses the character to rotate, like this bone. I don't know if you can see it, but we don't need them for now. So I'm going to press on I to set a keyframe for all the bones which we selected. Press on I. And now let's rotate them properly. So I'm going to press on Alt R, Alt R. Also, let's go to frame 18, select sword, press on I again. Now that we have the keyframe here, we need to go to frame 30, and then let's animate the hands. But since we resetted the body and the head, we need to animate the hands as well. So I want these hands to meet each other in the center, like this. Alt R, Alt G, move it forward, R, and then now let's clean up the position. So I'm gonna select this body, move it forward, rotate it sideways. I'm gonna select the left hand, move it backwards like this, and take the head. I'm gonna move it in front of the character's head, so it's looking at the enemy. Let's see what we have. Let's adjust this position further. And let's do the same for the other character. Maybe move the legs backwards, move it down, R to rotate it sideways. Select the torso as well, R to rotate it sideways. Select the hand, move it backwards. Select the head, and then we'll rotate it forward. Now select the character's hand, rotate it forward. Let's see what we have. We have their first trying to slash, then meeting their swords in the center. And I think they're too close to each other, so I can select the root bone of one of the characters, press on G, middle mouse scroll wheel to snap it on Y-axis and move it backwards. I think I can readjust the other character's root bone as well. And I can readjust their arms as well. So let's see what we can do. I'm going to adjust the arms, and then also I'm going to adjust the swords as well. So I'm going to select the sword, and since we already placed the keyframe here, I can go to frame 30, and then I'm going to use R to rotate it and adjust the rotation. Do the same here as well. Like this. Take this root bone, move it on the side, like this, so that their swords are meeting each other in the center. Let's do the same here. And we have this motion, we have this pose, which is not bad, but it can be adjusted in the polishing phase without a problem. So let's play back. We have this and this. 1, 2. So the reason why the character is sliding forward is because we set a keyframe previously during the blockout on frame 36, but that's okay because we can do this. So select the keyframe on frame 30, so select the root bone, go to frame 30, select this keyframe on frame 30, the keyframe which is selected will be orange, the keyframe which is not will not be orange, it will be white. So once I have the keyframe selected, I want the character to stay in place. So I'm going to press on Shift D, copy the keyframe and place it on top of frame 36, and now the character stays in the place. Do the same for the other character. We have the keyframe on frame 30, select this, Shift D, move it on frame 36, and now they're staying in one place. So that's why blocking out is good, because we can get the idea of timing and spacing, and then we can easily change the root bone movements or the camera movements later on. In this case, we're not going to animate the camera. This will be mainly some character fight animation tutorial. So we have in-betweens here, in-betweens here, and then we're going to add the in-betweens on the last slash, on the last turn, and then we're going to polish, so it won't take too long. And if you follow along so far, well done. Now, let's continue, and let's take care of these keyframes. So again, I'm going to select all the bones which are to be animated. I'm going to select the feet, I'm going to select the body, I'm going to select the hands, select head, press on I. I pressed on I on frame 36. So frame 36 is the last keyframe of this pose, and then right after frame 36, they're going to start turning, rotating. I'm going to do the same for the sword as well. I to the keyframe. I'll do the same for the other character. Again, if you're too lazy, again, you can select everything with A. Now I selected all the balls manually. I press on I, set a keyframe here, select the sword, press on I, set a keyframe. Now, let's take care of this movement. So after this movement, the last keyframe is frame 52. So first, let's take care of the last pose of the characters. The last pose which the characters are going to have. So I'm first going to separate them slightly. So G, middle mouse, make G middle mouse to snap it and move the root bone backwards. And I want the characters to stay like this. So Alt R, Alt R, Alt R. Gonna move the body forward, move the body sideways like this. Move the hand like this, like in a cool samurai pose. I don't know if you watch some samurai action films. They usually do this cool pose. I said cool so many times, but it's actually pretty cool. So I'm using R and the G to rotate the sword, move the head forward, Control Tab, move the head forward, move the arm on the side, rotate the legs, move the legs accordingly. See what we have. We have this rotation, and then boom, we have the last pose like this. Now the reason it's sliding again because we have a keyframe set on the last keyframe, but on frame 75 I don't think we need the keyframe for the root bone. So instead of clicking Shift D and copying the keyframe, I can simply select frame 75, press on X and delete keyframes. So I press on X and then I chose the first one, which is delete keyframes. Now it's gonna stay in one place. Now let's give the kind of similar pose to the other character. Select the other character, Control Tab, and then on frame 52, let's select all the body. Since we set a keyframe for frame 36, we're gonna be good. The reason this keyframe didn't have a keyframe set on frame 36 is because I didn't animate this here. And this bone is useful if you want to add flips and stuff, but I'm not going to use it for this animation because I don't need it. Now select the body, Alt R, and then let's rotate it backwards. And by the way, you can avoid using Alt R and you can rotate the character straight from here, but I like to use Alt R to see how the character goes and reset the position of different bones. So move the head forward. I'm using RR again, as always. Do the same thing but make the poses slightly different. We don't want them to be exact copies of each other. I mean, they're doing the same movement, but we don't want it to be like all exactly the same. Move the hand backwards, move the sword as well. See what we have. Maybe move the root bone backwards so that they're in front of each other. Move the leg like this, GZ, R. So maybe rotate this character down as well. And let's see what we have. From frame 32, we have this turning. Yeah. So I think we have in between for all the major movements. And now we can add some polishing and we can add some extra follow up and follow through movements. So let's watch it again. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, that's cool. So first, let's take care of the first movement. I'm gonna do the polishing. You can follow along and you can do your own polishing as well. So first thing I said before is they're rotating way too much. So maybe select the torso, move it like this. So I'll do the same here. Separate the arms so that they're going through each other. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, and then we have this. Cool. And then another thing I can do is, instead of going on the side, I can also make them go backwards. So select the body and then move it backwards as if the character is taking a huge swing. So let's do that, move it backwards, move this backwards as well. Move the head backwards. Let's not overdo it. In animation, you can get away with overdoing things, so it might look good. Let's see. Select the hand. Let's see what we have. Well, this is weird. We have this motion, which we don't want. We have this. So I can select the keyframe on frame 6, Shift D, duplicate it and copy it so that this forearm is not randomly moving. I can do the same for the hand. Select this frame, Shift D, move it, and it stays in place. It doesn't need to stay in the place in the final animation, but for now, I need it to be organized in order to see what I'm doing. And now let's see, we polish this slightly. Let's add some extra flare, maybe move it even backwards on the side. Take the leg, move it up. I can even take the root bone if I want, maybe rotate it slightly midway. Let's see what we have. We have this motion. They kind of look like they're sliding, but it's a fight animation and you can get away with it. You're not going to have the camera placed all the time in front of characters' feet, so don't worry about it too much. By the way, here I think it's weird that they're not looking at each other, so I'm going to rotate the head towards each other, like this, because they're intending to hurt each other basically. So 1, let's see, 1, 2, yeah, it's already looking better. And let's add some further polishing here. Or just polishing up the poses, fixing things I don't like. I don't like this leg positioning. I don't like this leg positioning either, so maybe rotate it, move it up. Rotate the head, move the hand up, move it down. Do the same here. 1, 2. Now, once the characters slash like this, they're staying in the place. And we don't want that in the final animation. We want that in the blockout to get the idea of what they're doing, when they're doing this. But let's fix this and let's follow up with some action. So, after the characters swing, I can go on frame 18 before the last motion. And then I'm going to add some slight movements to the character's body. So here's what I mean. This, for example, when I selected the pelvis went from left to right, right? Left to right, right. So since it's going from left to right, I can go on frame 18 and move it right slightly again, so that it looks like the character is not stopping like a robot. It's basically kind of continuing the movement. So I have this motion like this, because it looks more natural. So instead of stopping, it's still moving slightly. So let's do the same for the arm, because it's bothering me. We have this. Hope you know what I mean. So this is 1 and then 2. And if you do this for the other bones, it's going to look more natural, it's going to look cooler. And let's do the same for the other bones. So select the head, rotate it again on frame 18. We have this 1. Yeah. So looking back at the character again, let's do the same here. And by the way, I really don't like the positioning of the sword, so maybe I can fix it like this. R, R. And this is moving in a weird way. That's because the keyframes on 12 and 18 are different, so I can select the keyframe on frame 18, Shift D, duplicate it, and move it back on frame 12. We have something like this. Already looking a lot better. If you compare this character's motion to this character, you can see what I mean. When they finish their motion, this character is still moving and this is stopping like a robot. So you can see why this one looks a lot better and more fluid and natural, like this. 1, 1, and then 2. So yeah, let's do the same for this character as well. Let's select this character, select the body, R, Z, to move it slightly on the side. Basically continuing the movement on frame 18. Do the same for the hands, move it forward, rotate them, do whatever you want. Select the body, maybe move it down slightly, let's do the same here. G, middle mouse scroll wheel, snap it on Y-axis. The 1 and then 2, let's see. Already, this is looking a lot better. Might be a bit slow, but we can adjust the speed later on. And this is even though I'm polishing these, doesn't mean that this is going to be finalized. I'm still going to go back and readjust the keyframes. And I think I'm going to readjust some keyframes later on as well. But let's continue with the other in-between movements. So here, we need other in-between movements. But before we do that, we need to go on frame 36. So from 30 to 36, they're again staying in one place like robots. And I want them to slash their swords through each other and also continue their movement. So what I want them to do is, I'm going to select this body, continue the motion like RZ, select the head, move it slightly on the side. We have this. And let's see what we have. So do the same here. RZ to move it forward. Rotate the hands. Rotate it like this as well. I'm just adding some small follow-up movements. Give it more realism. 1, 2. And I realized I was adding some follow-up movements probably on frame 30, but it's fine. It's still gonna look fluid. Let's go to frame 36 and move this character on the side like this. And then I'm gonna readjust the arm. Instead of going down, it's gonna move up, continue moving up like this. And then let's see what we have. All right, it looks more natural, fluid. Now let's add some follow-up action on the last keyframe as well. And then we're gonna go back and readjust everything. Readjust the movement, readjust the positioning, and so on. So go on frame 52, and our last frame is 75. So let's just go to frame 75, and since this character is turning this way, I'm going to do the same thing I did previously. So move to frame 75 and continue adding some last small details, small follow-up movements, follow-up actions. So select the hand, move it backwards, move this one forward. Let's see what we have. Yeah, there we go. I think you know what this means. I think you can agree that this looks a lot better. Maybe move the body even further. Move it down. Alright, that's cool. I'm readjusting my chair. Alright, let's do the same thing for the other character. Let's add some small follow-up actions, follow-up movements. RZ, move it forward. Maybe not too much. GZ, select the hands, do the same for the hands. We can even add some follow-up movement for the swords as well if you want. Move it slightly. R, make sure you have it first you have a keyframe set on frame 52. Let's do the same here. And let's see what we have. 1, 2, 3. Already we have good progress. 1, 2, and then 3. Now we need to polish this even more. And then after this, I think I'm going to speed it up because I think it looks too slow. So again, during polishing, like I said in my beginner tutorial series, you want to polish it, you want to polish up the movements and positioning, and you might want to add in between movements, if that makes sense. So I think I might do that for this animation. And I might time-lapse some stuff because it's going to be the same principles, it's going to be the same things. Or I might not time-lapse, let's see. It depends how long the tutorial will drag on. But let's see what we have. Let's rewatch this again. I'm going to analyze, I'm going to see what I need to fix. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so if you remember, we selected this hand and then we went forward on frame 6. And then we also went between frame 12. Here. We went between frame 12 and frame 6. So on frame 9, the character's hand moved forward, like this. Forward and slightly down. So we can do this for other characters' other body parts. So for example, if I select my pelvis and I go to frame 9, press on R, X to move it down, you can see what we have. we have this faster motion of the character going down and trying to swing. And if we want to make this even better, I can press on RZ, rotate it forward this way, so that it goes in the opposite direction on the last frame. So like this, and then boom, straight away. It goes on the side, goes forward, and then goes backwards, like this. Let's fix it, and let's also do the same for the torso as well. So I basically added in between, another in between movement. And I'm gonna go forward, and I'm gonna adjust the head as well, maybe move it up like this, one. Move this head forward, or maybe move it on the side. Let's see which one works. Okay, I think on frame 6 I'm going to move this head down. Move it down on frame 9 as well. And after the swing, it's going to be moved forward on frame 12. And I'm going to copy and paste frame 12 and frame 18, and then readjust it slightly. Let's see, I think this needs to move forward a bit. One. And if you compare two characters, you can see this character has a lot more motion. This is more stiff, and the reason this has more motion because I added more keyframes, more in-betweens, and basically more keyframes you add the better, but don't add too many keyframes obviously, because sometimes you might mess up some stuff. So let's see, going forward, it's rotated, this is rotated here, maybe move the head slightly towards the other character, maybe animate the sword as well. Move it inwards, and then on the last frame it's going to go outwards, which is going to look a lot better. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to do the same for the other character. So I'll go on frame 9, for example, and rotate the body sideways and then forward. And it's going to appear as if the character took a huge swing. Do the same for the head. Let's see what works for the left hand. The left hand should be up here. I'm using G to move it up, R to rotate it. On frame 9, I can move it sideways, even forward. I think I'm doing this wrong. I think on frame 12, we need to move it backwards. We need to move this left hand backwards. So on frame 9, it's going to move slightly backwards. On frame 12, it's going to move all the way back. And on frame 18, it's going to stay in the back. So I'm going to select frame 12, Shift D, move it on frame 18, copy this, and then rotate it slightly to add some follow-up movement. Let's see. 1, 2. Right, pretty cool. On the starting keyframe, I want to move the left hand backwards to make it have more motion. And another thing you might want to do is sometimes you might want to delete the keyframes because some keyframes might not be necessary. So here, for example, I think on frame 9, I didn't need to add a keyframe for the hand. So I'm going to press on, select this frame on frame 9, left click, select X and delete keyframes. And now it looks smoother. I think it's way too fast. Move it down, G, Shift it to copy it, and then slightly rotate it. And then let's see what we have. R, arts rotate, arts rotate. Let's move this forward. And then go on frame 9, maybe not rotate it too much. Alright, we have this. Already the first motion looks a lot better. So 1, 2, 3. Pretty cool. And let's go before the second motion. So before the second motion, we have this. The sword is going through this, and it's not realistic. So what I can do for this is fix the sword movements. So on frame 12, the swords are in front of each other, slightly intersecting, slightly touching. Let's go on frame 18 and fix that. So I'm going to select the sword, R to rotate it backwards, and do the same for the sword. And if we watch it back, we have this motion of them gliding on each other, and it looks more realistic. And if there's a slight movement like this, I think it's fine. But if you want to be precise, you can fix the last frame, and they're not going to go through each other too much. So I have this motion, 1, 2, and then 3. So let's do the same thing we did. So we added more in between movements on frame 9, and let's do the same thing here. So what I mean here, I don't know if you agree, but here when they clash their swords to each other, it doesn't look powerful. It looks like they're basically putting their swords in front of each other instead of attempting to slash. So for this, what I can do is go between frame 18 and frame 30. So somewhere over on frame 24 and 25, or maybe even forward like this, like frame 25, for example. I'm going to select the character's body, and what I can do is move it backwards, like move it on the side and move it backwards, because this is going to make the swing appear more powerful. Like this, you can see this. It rotates and then attempts to slash. I can select this hand, move it even backwards, select the sword, do the same here, R, select this hand, move it backwards, select this, R, move it up. Maybe animate the hand, animate the legs as well. Let's see what we have. So on frame 25, we have this. And as you can see, if you compare these two characters, like this already looks a lot better, like it's swinging from down below and then boom, it's meeting up with the other character's sword. But we can add even more details here. So what I want is between frame 25 and frame 30. So yes, I'm adding in between movements. I can select this hand and then move it up and move it on the side so that it has this motion. It's swinging from the side, and then it meets the character's sword on the last keyframe. So let's do the same for the body as well. Rotate it even more on the side. Do the same for the head. We have this. Boom. So here on frame 25 or frame 24, I'm going to select the left hand and move it forward. So that's like generating the power, helping the character to spin like this. And on frame 27, I want to select it and move it forward. And as you can see, the frames are not like exactly organized as in the blockout phase. I'm adding motions on different frames. It doesn't look as pretty, but that's necessary for the polishing phase. You want to add the bones and movements on different frames. Basically, do what works. I don't like this movements. I think I'm going to delete frame 25 because it's not necessary. Yeah, that looks better. Another important thing I want to do is before the character spins here, I don't want it to just spin. I want them to switch the leg positioning as if they're taking a step. So, easy thing to do is select both legs here. Go to frame 18 where we have the original leg positioning. Press on I, make sure that you still have a keyframe set. Select this, press on Ctrl C. Go to frame 30 because that's the last keyframe. And then press on Ctrl Shift V. And this is going to enter the flipped pose. So I want the flipped pose to be from 18 to 30. So I'm going to go to frame 25, select this and delete this because we're not going to need frame 25. And then if you watch, the character is switching the stances, switching the leg movements, and this looks more realistic than this. So if you compare these, there we go. Now, you notice on frame 36, it starts changing, but we don't want that. So again, go to frame 36, and since we already have this copied, click on Ctrl Shift V. And then on between frame 36 and 52, it's automatically going to change the positioning because The original keyframes, we already pressed I and they were already set. So we have this. It's changing the leg position and then changing the leg position as well, which looks a lot cooler. 1, 2, and then 3. Now let's do the same for the other character. Select both legs, go to frame 18. So select the A keyframe on frame 18, Control C. I'm going to press on Alt A. Not Control Tab, but Alt A, because I have this leg selected, which I don't want. So select it again, select both legs. Go to frame 18, press on I, set keyframe, Control C, go to frame 30, Control Shift V, and then again go to frame 36, Control Shift V. So what we have, 1, 2, 3. Alright, that's pretty cool, looking a lot better already. Let's continue polishing. So, since we added some in-betweens here, we added more in-betweens here. Let's do the same for this character. So go on frame 25 and do the same thing. But make the poses slightly different. We don't want them to be exact copies of each other, even though they're basically like an equal match in this case. So let's rotate the arm like this, rotate the body. I can even animate the legs if I want to. And since this is between this step and then this step, since the character is changing the step, I can always move the body in between changing the steps. So like this, move the body up and then down again, like this. So I'm going to rotate this, select the legs, rotate them, move them, do whatever needs to be done. Select this hand, move it up, select this sword, go on frame 28 for example, move this on the side even more, G, R to rotate this. Let's make them look at each other on frame 28. We have this. We have this huge swing. Not that huge, we can make this even bigger if you want. Boom. 1. And then here. Maybe move the legs apart further. Maybe rotate the body, move it slightly. Move it slightly again. And then move it here. I think I want to rotate it here as well. And then since we rotated the bodies here, I'm going to select the frame 30, Shift D, and move it to frame 36. And then move it slightly forward, rotate it slightly forward. Do the same thing here, select this frame on frame 30, Shift D, and then slightly move it here. Now, let's see what we have. We have this motion, and then the character starts swinging. So after frame 18, go forward about on frame 22. And I think the character starts spinning right away. It doesn't look as realistic. So I want the character to maybe move the hand slightly backwards, move the sword slightly backwards. Let's see. Yeah. So instead of randomly spinning, instead of spinning like straight away, I can have the character stay in the original. I can have some characters' bones stay in the original place for a few seconds, few frames. For example, this hand doesn't start rotating straight away. It stays in the place and then rotates and then takes a swing. I'm going to go on frame 25 and then move it up and then move it on the side. I can even use G if I want to move it up. Let's see what we have. Move the sword like this. Move the sword forward. And then let's move the body down. So the same thing here. Let's move it forward. Let's see what we have. Right, already looking a lot better as we go on. 1, 2, and then 3. So we added some movements right before they clashed. I think here the sword is rotating way too much. I think it has some issues here. Let's see what the problem is. Alright, so I might need to delete this keyframe or maybe readjust this keyframe, not move it backwards too much. Maybe start to rotate it. And yeah, now that's looking more noticeable and a lot better. 1, 2, and then 3. So, right when they clash, I don't want their swords to be going through each other like they're doing right now. It's not visible, it just happens in a few frames. But what I can do is again select the swords and then animate them to make it look like they clanked and they spun and did different stuff. So on frame 29, I'm going to press on I to set a keyframe, go on frame 30, and then move it backwards. For R to rotate it backwards, do the same thing here, or maybe in this case, yeah, go to frame 29, press on I, go to frame 30, press on I, and then rotate it backwards, and we have this. Now the swords are meeting each other in front instead of going through each other. So another thing I can do is instead of these happening in one frame, I want this to be more noticeable. So I can select the frame. I can hover over my timeline, select this frame with left click and press on G and then move it forward about 1 or 2 frames. So the sword movement is slightly visible. Do the same thing for another sword. G, select the keyframe G, and then move it on frame 32, 1, and then 2. We have this. And then right before they spin, I want their swords to do some other movements as well. That's what we have. So they clash, they cling, and then I don't want them to start going through each other. So let's readjust these, adjust these. So I think once we move these keyframes forward, we have the same issue. So again, go on like frame 31, for example, move them backwards. Go on the frame right when they're going through each other and then fix it manually like this. Yeah, so if you look at it, it looks like they're clashing and they're slightly moving. They're gonna make a ringing sound as well. And once you have the sound effects, it's gonna look more realistic and way cooler, like this. Boom, with a slight sword. I don't know what it's called. Sword moving, dancing, chicken dancing. I don't know. I have no idea. But we have something. I think this is moving a bit too much. So I'm going to go on frame 31, maybe move it forward. Yeah. I moved on frame 31 and matched the movements on frame 30 to basically make it look like it's not moving too much from one frame to another. This, cling, and then we have the swing. And on the swing, we also need to readjust the swords because right now it's basically going through the character's neck, it's going through this character's body, and they're basically killing each other, which we don't want for this anime. Let's watch them without overlays. Watch this, 1, 2, 3. Let's watch them from different angles. Pretty cool on top view. Right, now let's adjust the last motion. And then from there we can change the speed. And then on the last motion, what we need to do is before the slash, we need them to add more. We need to have them have more movements and adjust the slash so that they're not slashing each other, but they're hitting their swords to each other. So let's go forward on frame 44, for example. And let's rotate this character sideways like this to make his swing appear bigger than it actually is. Like this, rotate the hand down. Maybe animate the sword as well, animate the hand if you want. Let's see what we have. Yeah, already, you can see it looks a little bit, it's taking a huge swing. And then boom. If you compare this, it's only static. But this is not static, it has more body movements, more hand movements and whatnot. And I can make this even better and go between frame 44 and frame 52. So in between, so I'm going to add in between again. And if I want to make this look better, I can select this hand, move forward about on frame 42, press on R to rotate it. And then if you look, boom, it's gonna appear as if the slash came quickly, like this. 1 and then 2. Can even rotate this further, move it like this, and then boom. On frame 52, I can move this arm backwards, and then voila. You can see it has some quick motion to it. There we go. 1, 2, and then 3. Let's do the same for this character. So go on frame 44. Move the body sideways. Move it up. Move it up, move it down, whatever you want. Rotate the head, adjust the head. The hand down. Do the same thing for the sword as well. Do the same thing for the hand. Boom. And then again, go from about on frame 44 and do the same thing for the hand. Move it forward. Rotate it forward. Go on the last frame. And then rotate this backwards. We have, boom, we have this. 1, 2, and then 3. Alright, that's pretty cool. So, they're slashing their swords to each other about on frame 49 and frame 50, so we can adjust these keyframes pretty easily. We can mainly animate the swords, and then we can mess around with the body as well. So, let's select the sword and go for about on frame 49, and then let's move them down. Let's move this down as well. So that instead of slashing each other, they're actually hitting their swords. I know their intention is to slash each other, but I want in the animation to appear as if they didn't slash each other. So this sword might be going through the ground, so I'm going to rotate it forward, move it up. Oh, I think I accidentally turned off auto keyframing. I don't know how, I don't know when. But if this accidentally happened, don't worry. You can always press an I to the keyframe. But make sure it's set so that you don't have to set the keyframes manually. So I have this. Now let's continue readjusting the swords. So here, as you can see, they're no longer slashing each other. Instead, the swords are hitting each other. So go forward about on frame 50 and then press on I to move the sword forward like this, and then move the sword forward and down like this as well, to make it appear as if they moved after the impact of hitting each other, like this. 1, and then they move forward. And then let's make some more movements to make them appear. They just hit each other like this. They hit, and then they separated. It's not gonna be too noticeable, but still, like this. Wow, that's beautiful. Now I'll show you how to block out the movement, how to add in between movements, and how to polish them. Now I'm going to show you how you can change the speed. Some of you might already know it. And after I change the speed, I'm going to go on and add even more polishing. But I'm not going to show the last polishing stage because it's basically going to be the same thing. I'm going to be rewatching and readjusting the movements. And then I'm going to come back with the finished product. And you can just do whatever you want with your animation, add more polishing, add more movements and whatnot. So first thing we need to do is change the speed. So what I notice is when they pause once, like here, they pause once here, and then they pause in the last step. So the last step is fine, but this pause and then this pause can be longer, can be shorter because it's a bit longer. So I need to slow them down. So let's see, first pause was between frame 12 and frame 18. 1, 2, and then 3. So I can go to frame 12 and then I can go to the animation tab. If I click on the animation tab, I'm going to be met with this dope sheet. So I can expand this dope sheet up like this. I can use my middle mouse scroll wheel to move in the dope sheet. Now I have this set to this arrow, and if you deselect this arrow, you're going to see more keyframes. So if you deselect this arrow, you're going to see every keyframe. If you select this arrow, you're only going to see the keyframe of the object you selected. So for example, I have the sword selected, I'm going to see the keyframes for the sword. I have the pelvis selected, I'm going to see the keyframes for the pelvis. But in this case, I need to readjust the speed of everything. So instead of manually selecting these, I can simply deselect this arrow and I'm going to be met with every keyframe I have. So I think between frame 12 and 18, it's a bit slow. So this is 6 frames, right? And I think I want to make this half. I want to make the pause half. So I can go forward on frame 13, for example. I can press on Control. I can hover over the right side because I want to select every keyframe on the right side. So if I scroll it down, I can hover over the right side, press on Control, and then left click to select all the keyframes on the right side. Now I'm going to press on G and then move everything behind about 3 keyframes. So press on G, move it backwards, 1, 2, 3. And then if we play back, we have a way shorter pause like this. 1, and then they slash, and then they continue trying to slash each other a lot sooner. Now we have another pause here. So between frame 27 and frame 33, we have another pause. So this is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 keyframes again. So again, I can hover over my timeline, go forward a few frames from frame 27. So I can go on frame 28, for example. I can even go on top of frame 33 and then press Control, left click to select all the keyframes on the right side. Now go back and then press on G, move it backwards. So G, 1, 2, and then 3 frames, and then left click to confirm this. And then we have a shorter pause right here. So if you watch the animation, the pauses are a lot shorter. 1, 2, 3. And another thing I want is to change the speed of the entire animation. I want to make this even faster. So to see the objects better, I can click this, press on texture, and then I can turn off the outline and specular lighting. I can also zoom here, do the same thing if I want. I can go to material view to have a better shading, and then I already have the overlays off, so I'm not going to see all the bones. Now let's see. We have this 1, 2, and there's 3. And then if I want this to be faster, that's pretty easy to do. So go on frame 0, press on A to select all the keyframes, and then you can press on S, and you can scale up or scale down the keyframes. If you scale down the keyframes, the animation is going to be a lot faster. But to be more precise, I can press on S, and then type point or dot. So I'm going to press on point, and then let's do 0.8, for example. So it's going to scale it down slightly on 0.8. 1, 2, 3. And now the animation is a lot faster. I think it's a bit too fast, so I'm going to click on Control Z, and instead of 0.8, I'm going to press on S, 0.9. So let's scale it down on 0.9. Let's rewatch it. Yeah, I think it looks a lot better. It looks faster than the original poses. And then, since I showed you already how to lay out the animation, how to add a block out, how to add in between and polishing, I'm going to add some of my own polishing, and then I'm going to come back with the finished product. Now, if you notice, the animation, since we slowed it down, now it ends, instead of on frame 75, it ends on frame 62. So I can change the end frame from here, or I can go back to layout and change it. So let's change this to 62 because this is the last keyframe of the animation. And now I'm gonna time lapse this. I'm gonna add some more polishing. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna do the outro and see you soon. So here we are. I just finished this animation. I polished it, and this is what we got. Again, you can add your own twist. You can add your own movements. I might polish this even more if I'm going to use this in my animations. I think I'm going to use it in my own animations because it looks decent. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Smashing the like button will be highly appreciated. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more Minecraft animation tutorials using Blender 4.0. I upload once or twice per week, and also I do some Minecraft animations every once in a while, and I upload them on this channel as well. Also, if you have any suggestions, if you have any feedback, or if you want to see more tutorials, then comment down below and let me know what you think. And also, if you want to learn how you can animate faster and make big animation projects a lot faster and save some time, then be sure to check out this video right here, and I will see you there. Thank you for watching.